What if you could turn one sentence into an entire professional presentation in seconds instead of spending hours designing slides manually? If creating presentations is one of those tasks you constantly put off because of the formatting, layouts, images, and endless tweaking, Presentia Slides is designed to make that process much faster. Presentia Slides is an AI-powered presentation generator that can take a simple topic, pasted text, an outline, or an existing document and transform it into a structured slide deck. Instead of opening a blank presentation and wondering what should go on slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, and so on, you give the AI your starting material and let it build the initial deck for you. And that is really the main promise here. You focus on what you want to communicate, while Presentia handles much of the initial structure and visual design. Let's say I need to create a presentation about the future of artificial intelligence in digital marketing. Normally, I would start by researching the topic, deciding on sections, creating a title slide, finding a suitable template, writing the content for each slide, searching for images, and then spending more time trying to make everything look consistent. With Presentia Slides, I can simply enter my topic and ask the platform to generate the presentation. The AI analyzes the request, decides how the presentation should be structured, writes the slide content, applies a visual theme, and generates the slides automatically. That can make the difference between staring at a blank slide for 30 minutes and having a complete first draft ready for review. But you are not limited to entering a short prompt. One of the more useful features is document to presentation generation. You can upload existing material such as a PDF, Word document, or text file, and Presentia can extract the information and convert it into a slide deck. This could be especially useful if you already have the content but do not want to manually turn it into presentation format. Imagine you have written a 20-page business report. The information is already there, but your manager asks you to present the main findings tomorrow. You could manually go through the report, copy important sections, shorten them, create slides, and organize the entire presentation yourself. Or you could upload the document and let Presentia create the initial structure. The same concept could work for research papers, class notes, project reports, sales material, proposals, training documents, or even a rough outline you created in another application.
Of course, I would never recommend generating a presentation and presenting it without reviewing anything. AI can save you from the blank page, but it should not replace your judgment. You still need to check whether the information is accurate, whether the flow makes sense, and whether the presentation actually fits your audience. Another feature that immediately stands out is the visual generation. Presentia does not simply produce text-heavy slides and leave you searching for images afterward. It can generate context-aware AI visuals for individual slides. That means the images are created around the topic and purpose of the slide rather than simply pulling a generic stock photograph from a library. For example, if one slide discusses artificial intelligence transforming healthcare, the platform can generate an image related specifically to that concept. If another slide discusses financial growth, the visual can change to match that subject. This can help a presentation feel more connected from slide to slide. And if you do not like an image, you can regenerate the visual for that particular slide without rebuilding your entire deck. I think that is an important feature because AI-generated presentations often look impressive at first glance, but then you notice that several images barely relate to the actual content. Being able to change individual visuals makes refinement much easier. Presentia also provides a collection of professional themes. The themes combine elements such as colors, typography, and backgrounds, so you are not designing everything independently. You can choose the style yourself or allow the AI to select something based on your content. This is particularly useful for someone who understands their message but does not necessarily consider themselves a presentation designer. A good presentation is not about putting as many decorative elements as possible on every slide. Consistency often matters more. If your title style, typography, spacing, backgrounds, and visual language change randomly throughout the deck, even strong information can look unprofessional. Having a consistent theme helps solve that problem automatically. Once the presentation has been generated, you can continue editing it directly inside the browser.
And this is where Presentia becomes more than a simple one-click presentation generator. You can change text, replace images, modify layouts, adjust styling, and refine individual slides. But there is also an AI editing option. Instead of manually changing the same design element across 10 or 20 slides, you can use natural language instructions to make broader changes. For example, you might want larger titles throughout the presentation. You might want a different background style. You might decide that the images should be changed, or perhaps the entire presentation feels too formal and you want a different visual direction. AI-powered batch editing is designed to reduce the amount of repetitive formatting work required to make those changes. For someone creating presentations frequently, this could be one of the bigger time-saving features. Because generating slides quickly is nice, but the real test of an AI presentation tool is what happens when you want to change the result. If every modification requires rebuilding the deck from the beginning, the convenience disappears very quickly. Presentia gives you an editing environment, so the generated deck becomes a starting point rather than a final locked result. You can also create different presentation lengths. Sometimes you need a short 6-slide pitch. Other times you might need a much more detailed deck for training, education, research, or a longer business presentation. Presentia offers different template structures, including options designed for shorter and longer presentations. That flexibility makes it useful for several different types of users. A founder could use it for an investor or startup pitch. A consultant could turn client research into a presentation. A marketer could create campaign summaries, strategy presentations, or product launch decks. A salesperson could build proposals or client presentations. A teacher could turn lesson material into classroom slides. And students could transform research or notes into a presentation structure before refining the final result themselves. Another useful feature is support for multiple languages. If you work with international clients, students, or audiences, being able to generate presentations in different languages could reduce another layer of manual work. Now let's talk about exporting, because this is extremely important with any presentation generator. Presentia supports PowerPoint export, meaning you're not forced to present everything from inside the web application. You can generate your deck and then download it as a PowerPoint file. However, there is one detail worth checking depending on exactly how you plan to use the presentation.
The current official information indicates that the browser editor gives you control over text, images, layouts, and styling, while the standard PowerPoint export is focused heavily on preserving the visual appearance of the generated deck. That means, if having every text element remain completely native and independently editable inside PowerPoint is essential for your workflow, I would test the current export format before relying on it for a major project. The product is actively evolving, so this is definitely something I would verify based on the version available when you are watching this review. For many users though, simply having a PowerPoint export that keeps the presentation looking consistent across different computers can already be useful. Anyone who has opened a PowerPoint file on another machine and suddenly discovered missing fonts, moved text boxes, or broken layouts knows how frustrating presentation compatibility can be. Now let's talk about the credit system. Presentia uses generation credits, and creating slides consumes those credits. The exact amount can also depend on the visual generation option you choose. So before generating massive 50-slide presentations repeatedly, it makes sense to understand how your plan handles credits. If you only create a few presentations every month, this may not be an issue. But if you are an agency, consultant, teacher, or business team producing decks every week, usage limits become much more important. I would estimate how many slides you realistically create each month rather than only looking at the number of presentations. A 10-slide presentation and a 40-slide training deck obviously create very different levels of usage. So what do I actually like about Presentia Slides? The biggest advantage is speed.
Creating a strong presentation manually requires several different skills at once. You need to structure information. You need to write clearly. You need to decide what belongs on each slide. You need to design layouts. You need suitable visuals. And then you need to keep everything consistent. Presentia tries to compress those steps into one workflow. Give it the source material, generate a deck, review the result, make your changes, and export. I also like the fact that it works with documents. There are already plenty of AI tools that can create 5 generic slides from one sentence. Turning an existing report, document, research file, or long piece of content into a presentation is potentially much more useful in real professional workflows. The AI-generated visuals are another strong idea. Searching through stock photo libraries can easily consume more time than writing the slides themselves. Automatically generating visuals around each slide can remove a lot of that work. But there are also limitations you should keep in mind. First, AI-generated slides still require human review. Do not assume every generated statement is automatically correct. Second, presentation design is heavily dependent on context. A startup investor deck should not look exactly like a university lecture. Third, more visuals do not automatically create a better deck. One of the easiest mistakes with AI presentation tools is allowing every slide to become visually busy. Sometimes a simple number, quote, diagram, or short statement is much more powerful than another generated illustration. Use Presentia to reduce design work, but do not be afraid to simplify the result. And finally, the quality of the input matters. If you provide a vague prompt, you should expect a more generic presentation. If you provide clear context about your topic, audience, goal, and important points, the AI has much better material to work with. Instead of saying, create a marketing presentation, you might explain that you need a 10-slide presentation for small business owners explaining how AI can reduce marketing costs, including practical examples, challenges, and recommended next steps. The more useful direction you provide, the easier it becomes for the AI to produce something relevant. So who is Presentia Slides best for? I think it makes the most sense for people who create presentations regularly, but do not want to spend hours designing every deck. Consultants, marketers, founders, educators, students, sales professionals, freelancers, and business teams could all find practical uses for it. If you are a professional presentation designer who wants complete manual control over every pixel from the beginning, you may still prefer traditional design software. But if your biggest problem is turning information into a professional-looking presentation quickly, Presentia is much more interesting. My recommendation would be to treat it as a presentation accelerator. Do not expect AI to replace your expertise. Let it handle the first structure, the initial design, and much of the repetitive formatting. Then bring your own knowledge back into the process. Remove weak information. Rewrite anything that sounds generic. Check the facts. Simplify crowded slides. Replace visuals when necessary. And make sure the final deck sounds like you rather than an AI system. That combination is probably where tools like Presentia become most valuable. AI handles the repetitive creation work, while you remain responsible for the message. Overall, Presentia Slides is an interesting option for anyone who spends time turning existing ideas and documents into presentations. The ability to start from a prompt, pasted content, or an uploaded document makes it flexible. AI-generated images reduce the need to hunt for visuals. Themes handle much of the design consistency. The browser editor gives you room to refine the output. Natural language editing can speed up presentation-wide changes. And PowerPoint export means your presentation does not have to remain trapped inside the platform. If you want to check out Presentia Slides yourself, check the description or the first comment for the link. If you enjoy discovering useful AI tools, productivity software, and platforms that can save you hours of repetitive work, follow the page and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next review. And if you want me to create a complete step-by-step Presentia Slides tutorial showing how to generate your first presentation, upload documents, choose themes, create AI visuals, edit slides, use AI commands, manage credits, and export your finished presentation, comment Presentia tutorial below. Because AI presentation tools are not really about eliminating PowerPoint. They are about eliminating the hours you spend staring at an empty PowerPoint slide wondering where to begin. And if Presentia Slides can reliably turn your rough ideas into a solid first draft in a fraction of the time, that could make presentation creation a lot less painful.